Greetings, Derek Rydall here, founder of the Law of Emergence and the #1 best-selling author of the book, Emergence. And it's just a real honor and a pleasure to be with you for this powerful training about discovering your soul purpose and the deeper vision for your life and the year in a way that is unlike anything you've probably ever imagined. Now, the cool thing I just want to say about discovering your purpose and the expression of that known as your vision or your plan for the year, which stems from it, is that you can do it at any time of the year. There is, it's like the old saying, the Chinese saying, when's the best time to plant a tree? The answer is 30 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. So it doesn't matter if you're listening to this at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, the end of the year. It's always a good time to get back in touch with that deeper calling of your heart and soul, that unique pattern of infinite perfection that you are an expression of. And we're going to get much more into that. So it's always a good time. And then to see how that translates in your life in terms of your work in the world, your place in the world, your area to create and to contribute. And so I really just welcome you here. And I'm so excited to be with you in helping you to discover through what I call the 7 paths of your soul purpose. And one of the things I want to say that's, you've probably heard a lot of things on how to discover your deeper purpose and mission and vision. This is a very unique way, and I found to be one of the most powerful ways to understand and figure out your purpose or vision. You see, most people are merely trying to discover their purpose by looking at the world to see what works, what's popular, what'll make them money, or looking at their interests to see what they would like to do. And these are all okay aspects of it. But ironically, most of what we're trying to determine our purpose based on is conditioning. It's peer pressure, parental fantasy, societal beliefs and values of what you should and shouldn't be, what you can and can't do, who you are and who you're not. And many times has very little to do with what our deeper purpose and our greater potential is. Now, another thing that is a misunderstanding about the soul purpose is, and your purpose in life, is that it's your job. That they're often thinking of when they think of purpose is just, what is my job? But your purpose is so much more than that. It's the masterpiece your whole life is meant to be. And the clues to it are all over, often in areas you would have never thought to look. In fact, and this is one of the most critical elements of this particular work. You see, most people are trying to solve their problems. That's how they've learned to deal with life, is mostly as a problem solver. And ironically, as you'll come to discover in this training, is that so many of our efforts to solve our problems are actually blocking our ability to clearly see and fully live our purpose. And you'll understand more what I mean later. We also don't really realize the importance of tapping into and living our deeper purpose. I really want you to get this if you get nothing else. It's not just about improving your life. It's not just about having a good job. In fact, tapping into your soul purpose and releasing the energy of that divine pattern is the most important work you can do. Not just really important or pretty important. It is the most important. It is foundational. And I hope that you'll understand that by the time we're done here. It's why in Proverbs it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. It should be ultimately our #1 priority. You see, many of the problems we struggle to solve, health, wealth, work, relationships, etc., are actually symptoms of our disconnect from our deeper soul purpose, which is really our divine blueprint. What I call the soul purpose blueprint, which is also our unique power source and power grid. And our disconnection from that shows up in our life in all kinds of ways of dysfunction and dis-ease and the breakdown of certain structures in our life. And then we try to solve those structures extrinsically, work on our wealth, work on our relationships, health, etc., and doing all kinds of work to clear it and heal it, but we don't get the clue and the message that is really part of our deeper purpose. So we're going to get into that in a moment. Now, I just want to say also that I know that a lot of you may, or some of you may have really struggled a lot. And some of you might even be in pain right now. And it might even be hard to think about living your purpose or to do this kind of work when you're struggling, when you're in pain in some kind of way, or when there's a lot of lack in your life. And my promise is that if you're willing, if you just keep saying yes to your yes and breathing and releasing to this higher energy that's trying to emerge through you, even now, I'm going to do everything I can to support you by activating this field. No matter when you're listening to this call, there's an activation going on that you can release to, that you can tap into, that is helping to mitigate the lower frequencies of lack and limitation and activate the higher frequencies of your potential. So you can absolutely have and feel a major shift on this call and moving forward and really be on the path to a whole new life if you're willing. Are you willing? It doesn't matter when you're listening to this, you will feel the shift. Now, again, I want to be clear. There are a few things that I really want to cover today in this training. Some myths I want to bust. The first one is that your problems are not caused by what you think, almost in most cases, but rather are a disconnect from that grid, this soul purpose blueprint or soul purpose power grid. And that's why the number one job is knowing and tapping into your soul purpose blueprint, which again isn't just a job or a goal. It's your very essence. It's not something you make up. It's what you're made of. It is your divine power structure. And to do this, you need some tools and some energetic support to lift you out of those lower frequencies and the collective hypnotic spells that are unconsciously holding you hostage. And we're going to bust some of those spells in this training. And then finally, to really tap into your soul purpose blueprint, there's many things that I want to share with you about that, but we're going to really focus on one core framework, and that is the 7 paths to your soul purpose, which we're going to go into depth today, and which I think will be a radical departure from how you've thought about your life, thought about your problems, and thought about your purpose. But first, I just want to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about me. If you don't know much about me, haven't heard about me, who is this guy, Derek Rydall? And I'm not going to give you my resume. I will tell you some of the things that I've done so that you understand why I'm sharing this with you and perhaps why there might be value in listening to it. Like so many people, I was struggling for many years, lost, trying to get over my bad childhood, my broken heart, my betrayal, all the things that I struggled with and trying to achieve a better life and fulfill my dreams. And after years and years of self-improvement, the only thing I'd improved was my ability to describe why my life was still so messed up. I became very eloquent and articulate at telling you all the reasons why things didn't work, but they were still not working. In fact, they were working worse and worse. The more I tried to improve my life, the more inadequate and burnt out I felt. It sound familiar? It's like trying to dig yourself out of a hole. The more I dug, the deeper in the hole I got. And this ultimately led to me becoming addicted to drugs and alcohol to try to quell the pain and numb myself from this frustration and sense of separation. And I almost died of an overdose. And that wasn't quite enough to crack my skull open. They said the universe whispers in your ear and taps you on the shoulder, then hits you with a 2x4 across the head. And that was definitely a 2x4. And as I was lying in the hospital emergency room with the IV snaking out of my arms and the doctor says, "You're lucky to be alive," all I could think was, I don't feel very lucky. That wasn't good news to me. And lying in that bed of splinters from that 2x4, I didn't get the memo. I didn't quite get the message. And I decided to dig back in and redouble my efforts, try even harder, try to attract more, achieve more, heal more, improve more. And, my brother always said I had a thick skull, so a big head. He was right. And that just caused me to get stuck twice as fast and twice as hard and eventually become depressed and suicidal and then do something very, very reckless and crazy and go diving in a reef on my own, praying to get lost from the world above. And that's exactly what happened. I got terribly lost in a reef and stuck, and nobody knew I was out there. And after a long ordeal, I knew I was going to drown. I wasn't going to get out. I was stuck in a pocket with fire coral everywhere and spiked coral everywhere and inches from my face and stomach and throat, ready to skewer me at any moment. And at a certain point, I realized I wasn't going to get out of there. And my mind had gone through all the scenarios, and I knew all that was left was to surrender and let go. I was going to drown. And in that moment of profound and complete surrender, something cracked open in me, and I had a vision. I could see that this self I'd been trying to improve was a false concept, a construct of human conditioning, and that right behind it was this real self, this real pattern of perfection. And it shattered my paradigm. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. And in that same moment, this wave came along, or something happened. I still don't know to this day, but I basically bounded or leaped or levitated, honestly, I really don't know, out of the water onto the coral. It's, again, as I even think of it now, I can't physically imagine how it happened, but I was suddenly standing on top of the coral and could look down into the pocket I'd been stuck in and see the maze I'd been swimming in and following all the brightly colored objects until I became trapped and I was gasping for air. And I realized that was a metaphor for my life. I'd been swimming through a maze, following brightly colored objects, and I was drowning. I was gasping. But something radically shifted. And as I swam out, the man that swam in was not the same man that swam out. And I tried to become a monk and then a minister, and it didn't work out. I broke into the monk's kitchen in the middle of the night after fasting on a retreat for several days and stole food out of their refrigerator and like some little feral creature coming out of the forest, and got incredibly sick, had my first out-of-body experience where I was tormented by some demonic presence that scared me out of the monastery. To this day, I'm pretty sure it was the monk messing with me, saying, no, you're not meant to be a monk. But I cloistered myself in my apartment, and I went on this inner journey for the next couple of years where I began to tap into this power grid, this soul purpose blueprint. And the minute I began to tap into it, I won't go to all the details, but my life began to turn around. All the things I'd been struggling to fix and heal and achieve began to happen almost miraculously. I suddenly was able to sing. I was suddenly able to play piano. I was writing songs. I was more peaceful than I'd ever been. I was more joyful than I'd ever been. I started to manifest money. In one particular occurrence, I made enough money from 2 days from a surprise job opportunity after one of these openings that paid for a year's worth of living expenses. And things just started manifesting. And I went from being broken, suicidal, living on 19-cent boxes of mac and cheese, to $1 million homes, traveling the world, to being in the love affair of a lifetime, ultimately building a 7-figure coaching and transformational business and selling books and films and all kinds of stuff. Everything I'd been struggling to do began to unfold, not all overnight, but it was enough, and it was progressive and consistent enough that it just kept growing and growing and growing. Not without challenge, but even today, that my life is certainly not without challenge. But it's like all of a sudden I found the code, and I began to unlock that potential that was always there trying to emerge, but most of my efforts were blocking it, and I wasn't aligned with it. And that was such a huge, and that's where the Law of Emergence came from. And I began to understand that there was this divine pattern within us, that we already had everything we needed and that we had to become congruent with it. And when we did, it began to unfold in our life. And as that went deeper, I realized it was a unique pattern, like a seed pattern. Like every seed has its own unique pattern, so do you. And I began to see and describe that as the soul purpose blueprint. And that it wasn't just a pattern, but it was a power source. It was your divine power plant. So this is what I'm here to share with you and to teach you, and to hope that you really are willing to tap into, because it will completely radically change your life. Now, again, it's important to understand that your problems are often caused by a disconnect from this soul power grid. For example, if you aren't able to turn on a light because, there's no power coming through the wall socket, the problem is usually not in the light or the wall socket. It's in the connection back at the main power source to the house where a breaker has been thrown or blown. You're disconnected from the grid. Now, if you're struggling in one of the several main life structures, health, wealth, work, relationships, etc., odds are the problem is not in that life structure. It's a disconnect from the grid. Now, this is what I've discovered from years of working with people. I, like so many other people, was trying to help people solve their money issues and their work issues and their health and wealth issues and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that there's not an opportunity in most of those cases to apprentice under that life structure and grow stronger and build a consciousness of wealth or a consciousness of health or love or whatever. Absolutely. But I saw that even when I did all that, if the person, still the results weren't forthcoming. But once it was anchored in an activated realization of their soul purpose, of that divine blueprint, and that energy was released, many of those problems began to resolve themselves. So most people are trying to fix the light bulb or the light socket. They're trying to fix their money, wealth, health, work, relationship issues when the problem is they've become disconnected to the grid, or what I call this soul purpose blueprint or this divine power plan. And the solution is not merely in fixing the light bulb. How many light bulbs are we going to replace only to see them not light up or keep burning out before we realize that the light bulb isn't the problem? The branch on the tree isn't the problem if it's not bearing fruit. It's often the root. Deep roots equal rich fruits. So we're working in all the branches, but we're not addressing the root and the soil of your soul, to be more rooted in it, where that divine pattern and potential is, right? We have to get reconnected to the very light of our being, to that electricity, to that true nature or essence, which is specific and unique to you, right? And then remove the blocks that are either preventing that energy from flowing or causing it to surge in unstructured ways that come out as destructive things, causing the light to pop and fizzle and eventually burn out, which some of you are experiencing because you're doing all this work to grow or heal or activate your energy, but it's not rooted in the soul purpose. And so that energy is causing emotional swings and psychic disruptions and all kinds of weird stuff to go on. Now, another thing to understand about your soul purpose and how it's connected to the problems in your life, because again, we've been trained to be problem solvers and we need to become vision holders, because a problem cannot be solved. Problems cannot be solved. Problem is connected to emblem, a symbol. And it doesn't get solved, but problems dissolve as you evolve. When that connection is reestablished with that energy grid, with that soul purpose blueprint, and the energy starts to flow harmoniously in your life, many of these problems start to work themselves out. Now, notice I didn't say they're solved because, again, it's like the analogy of ice. Ice exists at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. And no matter what you do about it, as long as you are at 32 degrees, you're going to have the problem of ice. You can pray about it, blowtorch it, chip it away, cover it up, wear a parka, pour hot water on it. It's going to freeze up. You're going to have even more ice, right? You'll always have the ice problem as long as you're living at that frequency. But when you rise to a higher frequency above that, you don't solve the problem of ice. Ice dissolves. Why? Because it cannot live at that higher frequency. That's not where it lives. Ice lives at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. That's where it lives. It will always live there in this dimension. So you can't stop that. You can't solve the problem of ice. But you must, if you evolve, the problems dissolve. If you go to a higher frequency, the ice melts. You didn't solve it. You move to a frequency where it does not live. That's why Einstein said you cannot solve a problem at the level of the problem. And he also said, arrows of hate have been shot in my direction many times, but they no longer harm me because they come from a world that I no longer inhabit. He didn't solve that problem. People were still shooting arrows at him. He just didn't live there anymore, where they were existing. So getting hooked back up to this soul purpose blueprint, this power grid, lifts your vibration, your frequency, expands your entire paradigm, and lifts you into an environment and an atmosphere where many of your problems do not live and cannot exist. Makes sense? So your problems aren't solved. They dissolve as you evolve. Tapping into an awakening to your soul purpose and releasing that energy lifts you, evolves you, and into an environment where those problems don't exist. And that's why they appear to get solved and resolved. Now, this is why connecting to and living your soul purpose, it's got to be number one. It has to be the most important activity in your life. Again, as it says in Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people perish. It didn't say where there is no vision, the people have a bad day, right? Where there is no vision, the people don't lose those last 5 pounds. No. It said they perish. They die. And if they don't literally die, they become the walking dead. You know, all these movies and TV shows about zombies, this is a metaphor, people. This is not accidental. This is a metaphor that we are a society that is walking around as zombies. We're walking around as the living dead because we're not connected to our power. We become consumers instead of contributors. See, the root word of human comes from man in Sanskrit. That means the dispenser of divine gifts. Your divine gifts are that the dispensing of your soul purpose blueprint, of that energy and those ideas. If you've been conditioned by society, you become a consumer. What do zombies do? All they do is consume. They are consumed and then they consume. That's what we become in this society. We become zombies. And, you know, what in the old zombie movies, they used to always eat brains. Well, yeah, we're on autopilot. We're not using our mind anymore. We're not connecting to our deeper potential. So when you move from being a consumer, a zombie, to a contributor, to turning on that divine power plant, now you become immune to that whole consumption-driven society and the ups and downs of an immature economic system. There's so much more I could say about that, but you get the point. Now, another great quote I love is from the Gospel of Thomas. It says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. So this life, this power grid, this essence of your being, this soul purpose blueprint, if you don't bring it forth, that energy starts to wreak havoc in your life, which we've been talking about. It creates pressure, anxiety, and it's getting worse, folks, because the planet is speeding up. The energy is speeding up. The blueprint of the soul blueprint of the planet is being activated more and more. And if you're not on board with yours, which is connected to that, you're going to experience increased frustration, depression, mood swings, the breakdown of your structures. Many of you talk to me about that, talking about this existential dread and anxiety and even dark nights of the soul and things aren't working anymore. It's all because of this acceleration. On the other hand, if you're willing to get in touch with and aligned with this pattern, look out, baby, because you become unstoppable. And you now become a place where the universe goes, all right, now there's a person who's congruent. There's a person who's open. There's a person where we can pour forth our genius and our power and do great work in the world. Do you want to be one of those people? I believe you do. And what that comes with is everything you need. You're fully funded, fully franchised expression of the universe, and it gets to fulfill its destiny through you. Whereas if you're not, it's like the parable of the fig tree. If it does not bear rich fruit, it's chopped down. That's one of the most confusing passages in the Bible to a lot of good-hearted people. They're like, why would Jesus curse the fig tree? That's so mean. That seems so un-Jesus-like, and it's a metaphor. It's not producing fruit. It's not fulfilling its purpose. If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. The emerging edge. That edge where your true purpose and your true gifts are being dispensed. You did not come here to take a vacation. You did not come here to sit on the couch and shop on the home shopping club. You did not come here to go to get the best sale at Walmart. I'm sorry to tell you. You got work to do, but it's the labor of love. It's beautiful, brilliant, genius, mastery that you're here to share. You're not here to go to sales and save money and till you retire so you can live the last few years on a pension. No, you've got great work to do, a great work of art to express. And it includes all the love, the peace, the joy, the beauty, the abundance, all of the good stuff. You getting excited? I'm getting so excited. I'm gonna veer off into some other tangent here because I'm just getting very excited as I feel the energy. I hope you can feel this. Now, again, don't get me wrong. Living your purpose includes all of those good things. It includes the abundance. It includes the love, the companionship, the fun, the adventure. In fact, like I said, there's more and more of it. But if you're just going for the added things, if you're just going for the baubles, for the acquisition, the consumption, the achievement, then you end up like most people who have a bigger TV screen than their vision. The picture on their TV screen is bigger than the picture of their vision, right? That's not you, not here, not now, not anymore. And there's no fulfillment in that. There's only fulfillment. You fill yourself full of stuff, but there's no real fulfillment. You're like a thirsty man coming out of the desert and finding an ocean and trying to drink from the ocean. It's all salt water. And the more he drinks, the thirstier he becomes, not to mention sick. In fact, it eventually will dehydrate and kill him. So that's what's going on. That's why we have all these addictions. Because you can never eat enough or get enough of what you're not really hungry for. What's really you're hungering for is to deeply connect to your soul purpose and reveal the full meaning and the potential of your life in every area. So realizing this has got to be your number one. And if it's not your number one, if you're not willing to invest the time, the energy, whatever it takes, then I have a question for you. What else are you going to do? Keep spinning around in circles like the average person who doesn't live 70 to 90 years, but lives the same year 70 to 90 times? You know, if it's got to become that important to you, because otherwise you're going to keep spinning around and trying to fix symptoms and getting increasingly stuck. And you got to make it as important as it would be if your loved one or your child was suddenly sick and you had to get up in the middle of the night and you had to invest time, money, energy. It was inconvenient. Would you tell yourself, to your child, I'm sorry, I'm too tired to do this. Get back to me later. I don't have the money. Whatever. No way. You wouldn't think about how tired you are. You wouldn't think about how hard it is. If your loved one was in need, you would give them everything you needed to help them save their life. Well, guess what? This is your life. If you're not willing to give that much to your life, why not? And I want to really invite you to make a stand today that you're going to make your life, the fulfillment of your life, your destiny, your potential, absolutely the number one most important job. That you're going to invest the time, the energy, the money. You're not going to neglect people, but you're not going to neglect you anymore. Because if you really do this work, then you will have more and more to give to everyone. I'm telling you what I know. Okay? So if you get nothing else out of this call, get this juicy intention. I'm going to make me number one. I'm going to do whatever it takes to tap into my true destiny and purpose and potential and live it full out. All right? Now, so we know that we have to get reconnected. We know that this is job number one. We know that most of our problems are symptoms of this disconnect from our soul purpose blueprint, our soul purpose power grid, if you will. And that what I want you to also understand is that most of your problems and challenges that get more and more chronic are because you've been putting your foot on the gas through all of your intentions, desires, prayer work, vision boards, but you've got your other foot on the brake because you're not aware of this purpose and you're not aligned with it. So you've got one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake, and you're burning rubber and your engine's taxing and it's smoking and it's causing a lot of problems in your life. And not only that, but every prayer, every intention, every desire, I want you to know that it's being answered. And that desire, that prayer is being delivered, but it's being delivered to your true vibrational home address. That is, your soul purpose blueprint is like a vibrational address, like an internet IP, only it's the IP of your soul. And it's being delivered there. So it's like, just imagine you've just got this beautiful home And all of these packages you've ordered are piling up at the front door because you're not there to receive them. Vibrationally, you're not congruent with that. The light is on and nobody's home. And this is true for so many of us. You're vibrationally living somewhere else. Vibrationally, you're homeless or living on some friend's couch because you don't know what that soul purpose blueprint is. You're not connected to it. But here's the really good news. When you get connected to it, all of those things you've been ordering, all of that stuff that's piled up, now you get to start receiving it. That's why so many people that start doing this work start finding spontaneous and sometimes instantaneous breakthroughs. That's why what I told you about my experience began to happen. I had all this good stored up in kind of a vibrational trust account, or as Abraham Hicks says, your vibrational escrow account. And once you come into alignment with it, all of a sudden you get to download or withdraw or act or get access to it. Isn't that exciting? So all of your work has not been in vain. It's there for you, but we got to get you tapped in. We got to get you aligned. Okay. So let's dive into some of this, the framework, the most important part of this, as we talk about the 7 paths to your purpose and how to understand that. Now, I'm going to do as much as I can in the allotted time we have. Obviously, I can't go into the full depth and breadth of all of these paths, but I want you to get the scope of them, and I want you to begin to identify for you the one that you most want to work on and focus on. So I'm going to go through them first, and I'm going to go back and explain a little bit more about them. I want you to stay tuned, so I'm going to tell you some really exciting ways that we can go even deeper into these that I want to support you in. Because I'm really committed. I know that it's not just about you living your purpose, but because your purpose is connected to the grand purpose, the more people that are tuned in and tapped in and turned on with their soul purpose blueprint, that are living their divine destiny, the more we create a world that works for the highest good of all. It's like all of these light switches, all of these circuits start getting turned on for the global power grid until the whole thing is lit up. Can you see that? That's why I'm doing this. That's why this is so meaningful to me. Because I know that if I can help you awaken to your soul purpose and live it, the whole planet's going to change. As I am lifted up, I draw all men and women unto me. That's a statement from the Bible, but it's a quantum physics statement. As you are lifted up energetically and living your true purpose, you lift up your entire family, your neighborhood, whole industries. You lift up your legacy. It's powerful. So there's 7 paths. The first one is your chronic pain or problem. That's path number 1. Your chronic pain or problem. Path number 2, your deepest desire. Path number 3, the thing that angers or breaks your heart the most, also known as the Heartbreak Bridge. Path number 4, the points of greatest fear or resistance. Path number 5, the people that inspire you the greatest. Path number 6, the people that drive you crazy the most. Not merely push your buttons, but make you insane. Path number 7, the greatest traumas in your early life or the chronic pain points growing up. So these are the 7 paths. Now you might be going, that's some pretty weird soul purpose stuff. Like you probably never thought about that in terms of how that might be some of the biggest clues to your soul purpose. And that's why most people are trying to solve all that stuff, heal all that stuff, fix all that stuff, get rid of all that stuff, and never realizing all that stuff is the very clues and the very puzzle pieces to your true purpose and your greatest potential. So path number 1, your chronic pain or problem. Your chronic pain or problems is often an indication that you're living in a world too small, that you've activated a larger vision through all your prayer work and, desire, affirmations, etc. As I said earlier, and it's trying to emerge, but it's bumping up against your protective shell, like the acorn starting to emerge through the the oak tree starting to emerge through the acorn. If the acorn had self-consciousness, it would believe that its acornness was its identity, that its shell was its protection. And so as that oak tries to emerge and cracks the shell, it's going to be kind of scared and think its whole life is falling apart. And so it would try to do everything it could to hold on to that protective shell. And so in our own lives, as we've been growing and developing, we've been creating, based on our map and model of the world, we have protective shells. And these are our identities, our self-concepts. And we hold on to them and we live into them, and they seem very real. So let's say, we believe that there's not enough resources, there's not enough to go around. It's really, really hard to make a living doing what you love. I'm not worthy of wealth, whatever. Or even wealth is bad, a shadow of a shadow around wealth. And then we pray for more abundance. Abundance starts to emerge, but it bumps up against that shell of there's not enough to go around, or I'm not worthy. And opportunities show up. We experience them through the filters of these particular shells, and we block them unconsciously or, consciously, overtly or covertly. And that pressure starts to build because we continue to pray, affirm, visualize, whatever. And it creates ultimately a chronic pain or problem in our life. And we think that is maybe something we're doing wrong, or it's karma, or we're just bad people, we've sinned, whatever the theology you live under. But it's really an indication that you're living in a world that's too small now, that you've actually activated a larger world. You've activated more of your potential, but you're still holding on to that small concept. And so as we work through this path, you can tap into what that is that's emerging. Now, one of the things you can look at is, so you look at the area that you're struggling the most in, and you can ask, what is the larger vision trying to emerge by means of this challenge? That's an emergence question. What is the larger vision trying to emerge by means of this challenge, which is different than saying, what's wrong with me? What's wrong here? Why isn't this working? That's going to keep you trapped at the level of the problem, tuned in to station KLACK, KLAC, because that's the vibration of that question. When you ask, what is the larger life trying to emerge here? What is the greater potential trying to emerge here? Or what qualities do I need to embody to become free even in the midst of this challenge? Now you're asking higher frequency questions. You're tuning into KRICH, K-Rich, where the music of your larger purpose is playing. And you now become a candidate for greater insight, breakthroughs, ahas. Remember, you're lifting your frequency now through proper questions, through proper framing of that chronic problem. And you are now evolving at a frequency where that problem cannot live, as we talked about earlier. Now you can, once you get a sense of this, what's the larger thing emerging? Or you could imagine you receive what you're waiting for or what appears missing. Imagine what that would look like and feel like. And then ask, how can I step into this quality of feeling and being in my life right now? And you'll begin to be gifted with insight around certain activities you can do. All of these are emergence questions. All of these are high frequency questions. And if you ask them and then live into them, you are lifting your frequency. You are evolving outside of the concept of the problem and becoming receptive to the insights, the energies of the larger vision. So now path 2, your deepest desire. Your burning desire is not a sign of what you need to go out and get, but what's inside of you trying to get out. The root of the word desire comes from a root meaning that means from the sire, or from the father, or from the creative principle, also from the heavens. So this burning desire is a clue of your soul purpose, of what's trying to emerge in you. But we've been taught backwards. So we think it's a sign of what we don't have, and we either bury it because it seems too big, too impossible, we feel unworthy of it, or we tried and failed, or we just don't even, try because it seems too hard. And we distract ourselves with other things, or we go out and struggle to make it happen, which creates all the resistance that blocks its natural emergence, that makes it welcome. So like a pregnant woman feeling the kick of the baby, which is equivalent to that burning desire. If she suddenly felt the kick and went, oh my God, I need to go get a baby. I got to go make a baby happen. What's going to happen? She's going to look pretty crazy. She's probably going to do damage to the baby she's got or neglected. And pretty soon those nice men in white jackets with good upper body strength are going to take her away. But that's what we do in effect when we don't understand the proper placement of our desire in terms of a clue to our deeper soul purpose. So you can look at your deepest desire. And if you aren't aware of it in the present time, look back through the past. When in the past did you feel this? Burning desire. Write it down. Write them all down. And then begin to imagine if you were to really live this, what would that life look like? Who would you be? How would you feel? Visualize it. Feel into it. Notice the qualities of feeling and being. And ask again, if I could step into this being, what would that look like in my life now? Now, each one of these paths is like a puzzle piece in the larger picture of your vision. So each one is providing a clue, an aspect, an angle. So I invite you to write it down, to play with it, contemplate it, to notice how they connect to each other, how they build or add to each other, to let the vision start to form and formulate itself. Then we get to path 3, the thing that angers or breaks your heart the most, otherwise known as the Heartbreak Bridge. And this is usually connected to path 7. But basically, understand that from the shadow perspective, whatever pushes or pulls you is a projection of your unintegrated potential. So anything that really pushes your buttons is not only a healing point, but it's also a soul purpose clue. And primarily those things that really push your buttons the most. So those are the things where you look in the world and you find yourself, yelling at the radio or wanting to yell or just getting so angry or so scared or so heartbroken. Like I remember a client who, whenever something would come on about abused or abandoned children or animals, it was so devastating. She couldn't even bear it. She couldn't be with it. And as we worked with this soul purpose path, she discovered she was abused when she was younger. She remembered, recalled, began to work with it. And we discovered that her deeper calling was, first of all, she healed to heal that within herself. And then she was able to have such compassion for those people and those that perpetrated it. And then ultimately could see that her greater life's work was to help people become free of being victims and victimized. It was powerful. So, whereas, so often we see this stuff and we just try to get rid of the emotions or heal it or release the charge of the memory, but that fails to discover the meaning in it. That all of this is connected. There's no mistakes in our life. There's no accidents. So look at what angers or breaks your heart the most, either in the world or in others. It could be, major causes or just core issues of people, like people that complain or are victims or don't go for their dreams. It really, really breaks your heart. Write it down. Begin to look at your life and see how this shows up in your life, personally and interpersonally. This is a clue to your deeper purpose. And then path 4 is the points of greatest fear or resistance. So understand that as you start to move, you're like in a fortress the ego has built around you to protect you because it thinks that this is who it is and there's a limit to it. And whenever you start to push up against the boundaries of that fortress, the threshold, it shows up as fear or resistance. And the ego thinks it's protecting you. And you've grown to be conditioned that means that you're in danger or something bad could happen. That's the ego. Because to the ego, really crossing that threshold, putting the drawbridge down and crossing over that moat and to the other side of new territory is equivalent to danger or even the death or destruction of that fortress called the ego. And so it's trying to protect you. But the truth is that those points of fear or resistance are the ego's tell. Like in poker, when somebody has a tell, they're trying to bluff you. But you can tell because they have a tell, they do something with their hands or they say something. And that's how you know they're bluffing. Well, this is the ego's tell. fear and resistance. So that's the sign the ego's bluffing. And you're actually on the edge of some of the juiciest transformational breakthrough opportunities. And the area of greatest fear or resistance is connected to your deeper purpose. So again, to work with this, look at and write down the areas of greatest fear or resistance. And look at that and imagine or visualize, if you were to overcome this, who would you become? How would you feel? Who would you start being? Write it down. Look at how you're starting to see some of the same qualities of feeling and being. And ask, how can I step into being more of that today? What's one action I can take? And as you and begin to integrate that puzzle piece with the other pieces and start to see what picture is emerging. Again, I'm going to tell you in a little bit about how we can even go much deeper into this, how I'm going to support you in that. But just look at which one of these paths really speaks to you. Maybe all of them do on some level. We get to path 5, the people that inspire you the greatest. And this is the other side, whereas the people that anger you or the things that hurt, scare you, or push your buttons, this is the one that pulls you, otherwise known as the soul profile. And I won't go into the full details of this, except to say that you can look at what are the people you most admire throughout history or now that pull you the most, that inspire you the most, that you think are amazing, brilliant, talented. Write those down and begin to identify what is it about them? What are the qualities, the talents, the gifts, the abilities, the attributes, the story, the message that touches you? And understand that that is not, you're not really describing them. You're really describing you. It's a projection of your unintegrated potential. This world is a mirror. And all of these are qualities you have disowned at some point and are now being projected. Whatever pushes or pulls you is a projection of your unrealized or unintegrated potential. So as you identify this, now you start to get a snapshot of who you are. This is a powerful, powerful path. Really fun and exciting. And then you now weave that into your overall vision and purpose. What would your life look like if you were being that person and doing those kinds of things? How would that look in your overall vision and purpose for your life? Then we get to path 6, the people that drive you crazy. And this is similar to the one above, but this is the dark shadow, whereas that was the light shadow. And these are those people that really push your buttons. And you identify what are those qualities. And then you can do shadow work to integrate, fall in love with, and understand those parts of you that are calling out and crying out. And if you were to integrate those, how would that transform and improve upon your character? What kind of character would you have? Whereas the Heartbreak Bridge path helps you to discover what's your greater contribution in terms of your overall purpose. This path helps you discover your greater character in terms of your overall purpose. The Heartbreak Bridge is more of the what you're here to do. This is more of the who you'll be doing it. And so then we get to the 7th path, and that's the greatest traumas in your early life. Understand that life is not an accident, that you design this divine drama for the evolution of your soul. You cast the characters and you're playing a part in this sacred production. That includes your childhood experiences that seem to shape you. Understand your greatest message comes from your biggest messes, and your deepest pain activates your greatest potential and your soul purpose. Really understanding this piece can not only heal your childhood, and actually even past lives if you're into that, but set you on track to fulfill your true purpose and really change your whole story. This is one of the most powerful healing paths, because so much of real forgiveness is not just saying they did me wrong, but I forgive them. It's the realization that no real wrong was done. I'm not saying you condone bad actions, but you discover at a deeper level that just as Judas had to do Judas in order for Jesus to do Jesus, in all great stories and great dramas, the bad guy has to be the bad guy in order for the good guy to get activated, the hero or the heroine. And so you begin to see that this is all part of a divine drama that you designed at the level of your soul. And you forgive those people, and you actually even appreciate them playing their part. Those are your soulmates. And some of them had to play some pretty nasty roles in order for you to wake up and to evolve. So it's a very profound path. And understand that your deepest wounds, those core wounds, are really core initiations that set you on a path. And when you understand what those core initiations are, you begin to see you've been living your whole life in being prepared and developed to uniquely deliver your gifts to the world. You've been living your workshop. You've been living your work of art. You've been living the story you're meant to tell and write about and dance and sing about and teach and coach about and parent about and whatever. I'm telling you what I know. It's so powerful. So, as Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage and men and women are but players upon it. So, and again, you'll see as you uncover this path that it's connected, that all the paths are connected. They all reveal a puzzle piece in your greater soul purpose. And if you're willing to do this work, you'll not only heal your life, but you'll change your legacy that will transform and heal your children, their children. It will heal your ancestors, as well as your future progeny. It will heal past lives. And ultimately, you'll become a field of grace and of healing energy that can transform and lift up families, neighborhoods, cities, work environments, whole industries even. That's how powerful this is. When you tap into that soul purpose blueprint, that power grid, you dissolve this resistance. You stop, merely trying to solve the problem, stop being a problem solver and have become a vision holder. And you evolve and lift your frequency into a world where those problems cannot live anymore. You activate all this untapped power. You come home to your true vibrational address where all of the good you've been praying for and dreaming and intending and desiring has already been delivered. You start to experience spontaneous breakthroughs and outbreaks. That's what a miracle is, a spontaneous demonstration of what is always going on in truth. Just take a moment and breathe and imagine what could be possible. This is what is calling you. Life is calling you. Your soul purpose is calling you. Don't let it go to voicemail any longer. For so many people, the universe calls and it just goes to voicemail, and the message they get now is mailbox full. Remember, how frustrating that is when you call. So you're like, why aren't they emptying their mailbox? Well, that's what the universe is feeling for so many of us. It's like, what? I can't even leave a message anymore because their mailbox is full. When you tap into your soul purpose blueprint and unleash this power source, you empty out that mailbox, you answer the call, and you start to live the life you were born for. You come into alignment with the accelerating energy on the planet. You come into connection with the people that are doing this same work because you're tuned into the same station. You getting excited? Now, I have so much more I want to share with you, but we've already gone quite a lot and I've downloaded so much. I hope you're buzzing around this and have gotten some great insights. And if you'd like to go deeper with this work, I would like to invite you to do so in a very, very special way. I've created a really special offer just for you that is only available uniquely on this particular training. And you can just click on the special offer button that's on this page, on the page where you access this, or it might be in the email that you received about this. But in any case, click on that. And I'm gonna go through a little bit of what's in this soul purpose blueprint package, which is you cannot get the only other way if you get it on my own site, it costs you 10 times as much, and it won't include even everything that's in here. So that's why this really is a special offer that you're not going to find anywhere else. And I wanted to also take a moment, because I didn't really talk about this, but you can look over that right now while I'm still talking. But this has transformed the lives of so many people that, people that have been on the verge of bankruptcy. And as they started to tap into this, they went from not having enough to even pay their mortgage payment to having more business than they could handle. So much so their banker was like, how could you do this? Looking at their profit and loss statement, launching their business, launching their coaching practice, opening retreat centers. People that had no idea what they were here for, that had been struggling for years, suddenly knowing why they're alive in a way that was truly unique, that spoke and had resonance to their tribe, and was able to suddenly launch their business or their coaching work, or they suddenly individuals that were suddenly able to tap into that and show up to a job that they hated before. And now they were so alive with their real mission and meaning and purpose, they began to love their job again. And their boss began to treat them and with respect, and they got a promotion, and even physical stuff started to heal. Their kidneys started to heal. PTSD was healed. They went from being broke, living in their car on 30 some prescriptions, to suddenly getting off almost all their prescriptions, getting engaged, moving into their first place. Like, these are some of the things that start to happen when you get tapped into this power again. And you heard my story. And some of them happen very rapidly and spontaneously because of all that stored up energy that we talked about. So this is a powerful thing. And I hope you'll give yourself the chance to discover what's really possible for your life. I promise you that you have a destiny of greatness, or you wouldn't be here. So what is really possible when you start applying this? I really want you to begin to see that, and you look at some of the testimonials on the page, as well as the ones that I've shared with you. And so just take a look at that page now, and you can see what's available. And I'm going to walk you step by step through this entire program, this entire process. If you've liked at all what you've been hearing and it's resonating, imagine 10 times that much transformational support. Walking step by step through realizing your soul purpose profile, that unique pattern, connecting with the heartbreak bridge, that deeper mission of your heart, discovering your soul purpose archetypal patterns. We didn't even talk about that. This is one of the most exciting aspects of this, because you have unique specific archetypes. And when you understand this, it starts to make so much sense of a lot of the ways that your life is fragmented right now. You're trying all these different things and they don't seem to mesh together. This is going to totally blow that wide open and give you the clarity to see what those impulses mean in your life and how to align them to have unique power and purpose in your life. You're going to uncover your vision blinders. Again, one of the most important discoveries I had that separates this from any other program on purpose. Because even with all the work most people do, there's 8 core patterns that block them. These blinders, these filters. I'm going to walk you through each one of those blinders and heal and uncover those so that nothing is blocking you from seeing clearly and fully committing to your true purpose. You're going to uncover and learn the 3 soul purpose pillars, the 3 parts of a true and complete vision that have to be established to live your soul purpose. You're going to see the 7 soul purpose perceptions, the 7 windows through which we see life. You're going to tap into your soul purpose power source like never before. You're going to develop the quantum plan. You're going to develop your own soul purpose compass, how to be what I call the 1-minute mystic, how to build the greatest day of your life over and over again so that you start to live the best year of your life, the year that changes everything. Just take a breath. And it's step by step. It's simple. It's easy. I'm going to be walking you through it, and I'm going to be giving you all kinds of other support. Each audio is encoded with high frequency encoding so that you're going to feel the shift and feel the lift and get a boost and a support as you walk through it. And you're going to get additional coaching audios and videos to support you on this journey, and just other amazing support as you look through this. so that it's been designed so that this doesn't just become more shelf help, but becomes real, true self-help and transformation. I don't want you to just put this on your shelf, virtually or otherwise, and say, look at that great looking shelf I have, on my computer, or literally. No, I want you to look back and say, that was the moment that changed my life. That decision to make my discovering and implementing my true purpose the number one most important thing in my life, the foundation to everything else that will follow. That day that I made that decision, that I committed to it, that was the day that changed it all. Not merely being interested. It's like the joke of a breakfast of eggs and bacon. The chicken was interested, but the pig was committed. We want to be committed. That's what unlocks the magic. And if commitment is a scary word for you, that's okay. It's connected to one of your vision blinders, and we're going to get in touch with that, and we're going to heal that. I'm committed to you changing your life. I'm committed to you living your purpose. I'm committed to together us creating a world that works for the highest good of all. Will you join me in that? Will you become committed to you? I'm so jazzed right now. I feel so connected to you. I just wish I could give you a big hug and you could see me. But I'm with you energetically, and I'm giving you a big virtual hug. And if you're feeling scared, I'm virtually taking your hand, and I want you to know I'm with you. I understand the journey, and I'm with you. So click on the special offer button. Come join, come give it a try. Come together with a group of emergineers that are living their true purpose, that are activating the full emerging power and potential of your soul and your heart and your body and your mind, and start living the life you were born for and giving the gifts that you're here to contribute. I hope it's not too bold of me to say, because it's what I'm feeling in my heart. I really love and appreciate you for showing up, for adding your energy to this training, to this world. It really does matter. You really do make a difference. And I really look forward to connecting with you in person and walking this path together. So until next time, remember to live authentically, love unconditionally, and follow your destiny. I'll see you on the other side. Take care.